Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick. Welcome to Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. HER is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who is the awakening woman? She is the woman who's seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal, but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, and soul. They share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words in these conversations embolden and inspire you. My guest on this week's Her Conversations is LaShanda Henry, founder of SistaSense. It's a company that provides predominantly women of colour entrepreneurs with technology, online business training and mentorship. I consider LaShanda to be one of the forerunners of making money online. She began her accidental journey into entrepreneurship in the early 2000s, long before the social media platforms we take for granted existed, and when building a website was only possible with code. With more people identifying as entrepreneurs and recognizing the power of the internet to drive their business, expertise like LaShanda's is invaluable. During this episode, she shares why it's important to remember why your message is just as valid, even if there are many other people providing similar services to you online. She talks about her favorite online platform and also where to begin when you're just starting out. But as always, I begin by asking my Her Conversations guests. HER is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel at your most HER?
I definitely feel my most HER when I'm doing the work. So when I'm working with my mentees, whether it be a virtual or a live workshop, I just had one about a week or two ago, and people are asking me questions and I'm seeing the light bulbs go off and I'm like, yes! Doing the work, that is definitely when I feel like my most HER. And for me, one of the biggest motivations of getting onto the internet when I started back in college, when I was about 21, was the acronym WWW, which we all know as World Wide Web. For me, it stood for Wild Wild West. I wanted to be, I wanted to finally say I didn't miss it. When we look back in the past and we go, man, if I was alive back then, and for me, I said, this is it. This is a new frontier, uncharted territory. I don't have to go through other channels. There's no glass ceiling. I can go on here, get my piece of the digital pie and, figure out how to make my own way, how to start my own business. And so even long before, social media and everybody jumping on the entrepreneurial bandwagon, 2 decades strong, I was really gung-ho committed to figuring out this thing called digital entrepreneurship. And I mean, it's just been a beautiful experience seeing how evolved the internet has become. But back then, being a part of it from the very beginning, or at least what felt like the very beginning of the dot-com boom, to me was a beautiful thing.
And when was that? Would you say it was about like 2007, 2008?
No, 2000, 2001.
Oh, right. Okay, like right at the dawn of it then. So,
Yes.
So what did you see at those early times? Why did you notice the opportunity more so than anyone else?
Well, you know what? I always told people that I love 3 things, at 3 C's in particular. Love working with children, loved cartoons, and loved computers. As a social introvert, that was going to be my job, working with computers. And at the time, I was at Columbia University, interning at IBM, and being in a space where I just wanted to be engulfed in technology. That was my thing. So when I discovered the internet, what I actually wanted to do was create animated games and cartoons and be in that space. And so I was just looking at it from that perspective. But then when I built my first website, I said, you know what? I want to figure out how I could do this full time, do graphics, do web design. And it kind of pulled me into, again, for me, it was like falling, but I don't know, simultaneously falling into entrepreneurship, but having that uplift me, if that makes any sense, because it wasn't necessarily like I had a direction of somebody saying, oh, start here. Nowadays people say, want to make money online? Here's what you need to do. Like, no, that did not exist. So it was just kind of me falling into, oh, I'm good at graphics. Oh, I'm good at building a website. Oh, people want to advertise on my website because I promote Black content and they have Black products. So just being in that space, it went from me genuinely loving computers and technology into falling into these different entrepreneurial endeavors. I created Multiple Shades of You Online, which became an online e-zine for girls of color, young girls, and all the way up into the 20s, because I was in my 20s. And so from there, I built out MSOY, and this was about 2000. And then I started to build the Urban Dynamics Directory. That's what I called it at the time. And, this is pre WordPress and plug and play. So I'm doing all this HTML. I built a Black directory so I could search for and showcase positive websites for people of color. And then people started paying me to advertise their content on my website. And then I got into Google advertising. And then people started to say, oh my goodness, your websites are so pretty. Who made them? And I said, I made them. And they said, okay, well, can you make me websites? So I went from building that first e-zine to building the directory to becoming a web designer and people paying me for advertising. And so I fell into entrepreneurship in a lot of ways. But it was just a beautiful experience being able to create my own platform and then in the process find other people gravitating towards it and wanting me to do more to support them and help them with their own businesses.
Perfect. So like very much like a maverick and a sharp eye on everything, but then being at the right place at the right time. That's so inspiring. I mean, for me, I only really started to look at the internet maybe like 2009, 2010. Because we just kind of used it as to send emails at work, but it was kind of popping through and I could see that people were making money, but it was still a confusion as to how that was happening. The listeners of her conversations tend to be in the wellness and the spirituality space, and the majority of them will be offering their own services. So more and more people are becoming savvy to what the internet can give them, but yet still there's a lot of fear about being seen and about showing up and all of this kind of stuff and what will so and say and everything like that. How do you, when you're mentoring your clients, get them to a point of confidence that, one, what they've got is unique, and just because there's lots of other people doing similar things, what they've got is just as valid as somebody else? How do you instill that into your mentees?
Great question. For me, it's several things. Number one, leading by example. And not only do I teach, but I also bring in other women who do what I do and they do it well. So for example, I have several ladies in my circle, Charvette Mitchell being one that comes to mind. They're also web designers, Jay Stone, Tyara Moody. And I'll proactively say, listen, there's enough food for all of us to eat. We all do branding, we all do information products, we all do web design, and we support each other. This person brings me a client, I send them a client. So number one, never feel as though there's not enough room for you, because somebody needs your unique voice. Somebody needs your style. So leading by example gives other people the confidence to say, oh, okay, if she's doing it that way, so can I. Number one. Number two, I'm a pretty comfy, kind of laid back kind of a girl. And a lot of people who connect with me and resonate with me, soulpreneurs, spiritpreneurs, light workers, healers, they'll come to me and they say, I love that, and they'll say, not to offend, but I love that, you don't have to have, the expensive hairstyle or, dripping with jewelry or makeup, and you're comfy and you've got your jeans on and your natural hair, and you're, again, just being in a space where being me and being supportive of others creates a space where other people can go, I can do that. But also being in a space where I let people know you're not here to reach everybody. you're here to reach the right bodies. And I'm in the South, so we put R's on it, and not here to reach body. So that being said, if you just get into a space where you do you say what you got to say, the people who need what you offer, they'll find you. They'll gravitate towards you. As they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So there's never a space where you have to find yourself so fearful of saying what you want to say, or being shot down, or saying other people have done it. Why should I even get started? You need to get started, because when you're called to do something, no matter how many times or how many negative thoughts take you off of that path, you're never going to lose that path. You're always going to find yourself right back on it. So you might as well just get started.
Such a good and strong message. I can see over time how more and more people are coming online now, but then there's still that kind of stepping back. I've noticed, especially in my circle, we've all started to get a little bit more brave and start to do a little bit more lives and things like that on Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. So, I think the opportunity is more and more blatant and more obvious. And like you say, because more spiritual women, soulpreneurs, are really feeling the call that it's necessary for us to put ourselves out there and be vocal, especially with the way that the world is now and seeing how needed our message is. It's time for us to get over ourselves a little bit. What I wanted to ask you actually is do you have a favorite social media platform?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I would have to say, because I consider myself to be a shy entrepreneur, social introvert, which people go, "What? You talk so much now." My favorite platform, quote unquote, transitioned with my confidence level. So being in a space when I started, I didn't even want to put my photo up, because I was like, oh God, what will people say if they see what I look like, right? I was like, okay, my favorite is WordPress, because I just want to type and you read my stuff and you go, oh, she's so smart, and you buy it. So starting off with writing. And then, I remember putting up my first avatar and somebody said, oh my gosh, because I thought with all these websites and networks and things that you got, you was some old white guy. I didn't know you was an actual black woman. So everybody was, like surprised when I actually put my photo up. But then I said, okay, fine. You want to see more of me? I'll put some more photos up and I'll do some audio. So I went from blogging to podcasting. My first podcast was on Podbean. I don't even know if that thing still exists. If it still does, that's awesome. So I transitioned from blogging to podcasting. Then Twitter came around. Well, no, forgive me. YouTube, because I finally said, okay, oh my God, I have to do YouTube. So I went from blogging to podcasting to finally doing YouTube, because I was like, oh my God, I have to put myself in front of the camera. And then I kind of cheated, because 90% of my videos were webinars, so I didn't have to be in front of the camera. Because you got to build up your confidence, right? So then I went from YouTube to Twitter. I hated Facebook in the beginning. And then finally I was like, okay, fine, everybody's on Facebook. So fine, I'll be on Facebook. And then live stream came along, Periscope. I still am trying to figure Instagram, and don't even ask me about Snapchat, because that's not even, it's definitely a young person's game. But yeah. I would have to say, right now, to my surprise, my favorite would be Facebook, just because I can do a little bit of everything: the live stream, the posting. I have my own Facebook group, so you could do a little bit of everything in there. But as my little long story, hopefully shares, I grew with social media based on my personality and my confidence. So yes, that's the long and short of it.
Did you ever go down the Vine route at all?
No. I mean, there was some other platform, but see, I'm a beefy kind of a girl. And when I say that, I mean, I do long videos, I write long blog posts. So, micro content never really appealed to me. I know that micro content is actually becoming more and more in demand. So I'm actually trying to curb myself and say, LaShanda, create the 60-second video versus the 90-minute one. So no, never got into it, but definitely there is a space for it. I still love to do Periscope. I don't do it as much as I used to, but Facebook Live, Periscope Live, Instagram Live, you kind of have to tip your toe into all of them strategically, so that, because of course your following is going to vary as far as what your people like, just so that people can find you on different platforms. And what I'll say really quickly is that, or at least try to, normally I'll do my sessions now, my web classes on Facebook Live, but I will then jump on Periscope and Instagram for about 10 minutes or so, just to say, here's a quick recap of the class I did today. And if you want to watch it, go to Facebook or go to YouTube. So I don't necessarily do all three of them and do the whole spiel. I'll just do quick recaps on the other ones.
And if you were to start today, if someone came to you today and said, like, with all the information and all the knowledge and the experience that you have about working online, if you had to start all over again, so you've still got the knowledge, but you've got to start all over again today to kind of build yourself up to getting online and getting a viable business working within the next kind of 6 to 12 months or so, where do you think, with all the opportunities that we have now, where would you start?
I think at the end of the day, any smart person will tell you your home base is what matters most. There are moments when people eat, drink, sleep, breathe a platform, and then they're on to the next one. Back in my day, in my heyday, I was building Ning networks and making thousands of dollars building Ning custom networks for other people. And even though Ning is still around, it's not what it used to be. So being in a space where, you focus on building your home base, building up your website, making sure, regardless of social media, you have a solid information base, a website, a list. That's the most important thing. And a lot of entrepreneurs like myself who kind of, self-taught, fall into things, will tell you that a lot of us made the mistake of building our list too late, 1, 2, 3 years later, right? But out of the gates, make sure that your website is good, your back end is good, your email list building efforts are good. So you can strategically use social media, but get those people off of those platforms and onto your own, which is, and I'll say this, a little bit trickier these days, because even YouTube and, especially Facebook, these people want you to create the content within their platform and keep people on their platform for as long as possible. And you've got to tread thin water with that. But you've got to be able to strategically use them and get them off those platforms, or else you're going to be completely dependent upon them.
Is there something that you see, like you said, we've got these like big platforms that everyone's like kind of quite solid with, like the Facebook and YouTube and Instagram has really risen. Can you see that there's something rising, or that the days that something might have its kind of, we'll talk about it like we talk about MySpace?
These heavy hitters, I don't see them going away anytime soon. One of the biggest trends that's been quietly creeping up is the fact that, these platforms are taking over the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs, wherever you live, your primary TV networks, these platforms are now creating original content. It's funny that I talk about the red table talks with Jada Pinkett Smith and everybody on, I don't know about your social feed on Facebook, but everybody was talking about Bird Box or Boxing a Bird, whatever it was on Netflix. And I'm like, folks is talking about this Netflix like it was a premiere at the movies. All of these platforms are investing a lot of money into creating original content, to the point where, you feel like you've got 15 different subscriptions, like everybody is got their hand in your pocket, which, as an entrepreneur, needs to be a wake-up call to be able to say, listen, I need to be able to create my original content and to build my platform, because that's where things are going. I wouldn't necessarily say one is going to be a dinosaur faster than the other, just knowing that everybody is no longer sitting there going, oh, we're just social media, we're just here for fun. They're like, listen, we're here to take all your time and all your money, and you need to get with the program.
It is. No, I'm a great fan of Jada Pinkett Smith and the Red Table Talks and the platform or the way that she's used her platform, the way that she's used Facebook Watch. Is that what they call it now? They're
Yes, Facebook Watch.
because you've got this kind of bird's eye view of the experience of it. Do you think that in the future that they would start to have subscriptions for that? Because I know that
I mean,
YouTube are
I
doing.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're doing so well with advertising, though. I mean, there are times when I'll say, okay, I'm just going to jump on Facebook for like 5 minutes. And then 5 hours later, I'm still watching cats and birds and 5 minute clips. And they've already gotten quite a bit of money out of me because they've strategically embedded all those videos into all those ads into all the videos. So, I mean, I know entrepreneurs that invest multiple 4 and 5 figures a month into Facebook ads. So, unlike other platforms, they may not even need to go the route, but I wouldn't be surprised if they build up their media enough for them to be able to do that. I mean, even looking at Instagram and the integration of IGTV, it's still in its beginning stages, but they essentially want you to be able to not have to worry about going to other platforms to watch longer media. They want you to be able to watch it within that platform itself, so that whether they choose to do subscription or focus on ads, they're still generating quite a bit of income.
And just talking about ads, as I know for entrepreneurs when they're coming online, one of the great things about starting a business online is it doesn't have to cost you a huge amount of money. If you want to start investing into advertising and promotion and things like that, what is the best way to get started on that and not feel that you're just throwing money against the wind? Because it can be complicated, especially when you look at the back end of Facebook and all the way that you can set up your ads. It's like, how do you know that you're doing the best for yourself in terms of put your money, or should you go to Google?
That's a great question. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've put minimal into Google ads and or Facebook ads and or ads on any other platform. I've got people who consistently email me and say, hey, LaShanda, how much would it cost to do a sponsored ... on your website? I consider myself to not be an advertiser, but an organic marketer. So I focus more on my content, my blog, my video, my audio, and building a platform that's strong enough for me that I don't need ads. Now, that's not to say I couldn't benefit from investing into something like Facebook ads or Pinterest or what have you. It's just not my style. So I couldn't necessarily, to be honest with you, say yay or nay as far as where to start with that. I will say at the very least, I will strategically use something like Facebook ads just to kind of boost, certain posts every now and again. But for me, it's focus on the content. Because the reality is, if you create strong enough content, people will like it and share it without you needing to spend hundreds or rather thousands of dollars to promote it. And if you are doing that, you want to be the person who is, the overnight 30-day to 90-day to 6-month success. I mean, the majority of us, we put skin in the game. We put a couple of years in the game, but that creates a space where regardless of some platform going away or not being able to pay for ads, we still have solid foundations and solid communities. So if you're not so much invested in quickly seeing an overturn or, oh, so-and-so said I can put X amount in the Facebook ads and then get all these followers in 60 days. If you're not so invested in that, you'll focus more so on the quality of the content and taking up the time to build the relationships. But of course, most people do want to be able to see an overturn quickly. So it is a challenge for me to say, I'm not so much into ads because I know most people want to see that faster return. Not sure if that's necessarily the answer you wanted, but
no, I just wanted the answer. I just wanted your answer. You talked about building up a relationship and also making sure that your content is strong. What would you say constitutes strong content, and how do you then foster a relationship on the back of that?
You know what? For me, strong content is being in a place where, first of all, you really commit to being a helper. And to giving people as much as you can as far as information is concerned. I mean, I would spend hours creating content, doing videos. I remember, and I tell my clients all the time, I do bulk tasking, which is I'll sit down and create a lot of content. I remember in 3 days making about 100 videos to put onto YouTube. You know, I just did a Back to Business. It's called Back to Business, a virtual conference. And one of the ladies on my circle, Carol Sankar, you know, she's an expert in her area. Now she's on TED Talk and Forbes and all these other platforms. She said before any of these platforms would even have me come on and write, I was writing, you know, 200-300 articles on LinkedIn. You know, one of the ladies I follow and love, CC, she's the 6-figure chick. I mean, this woman she's doing webinars and live streams like 3-4 times. You know, literally, like, I remember watching CC, and either she was doing 2 or 3 lives a day or doing 2-3 webinars a week. I mean, that's our world. You know, that's you killing them with content until you feel like you can justifiably take a break. You know, I see people and they go, can I just write 1 or 2 blog posts this week? Or can I just do like 1 video? Oh my God, I don't want to do any video. Come on now. And if that's how much we had to do a few years ago, you got to think about right now where you throw a hat and everybody else is an entrepreneur. You mean, you got to come with it. Because in order for you to differentiate yourself, you've got to, again, truly be invested in helping. I remember back in the day, MySpace time, I had a MySpace group. It was called Sisters Making Money. And I was reaching out to people to let them know that I do have this MySpace group. And I also had my network, BBWO, for women entrepreneurs. So my hubby bought me a clicker. And we would go on MySpace, we would look for little other entrepreneurs, and we would click every time we would email them a message. So I tell people, you pound the physical pavement, we were pounding the digital pavement. Like, okay, click, click, click. We emailed 400 people today. We emailed 300 people. I mean, that's just, yes, if you want to go the route of throwing the money at it and saying, okay, you're going to put $100 or $200 a day into Facebook ads and run an ad, but hopefully you're running an ad that converts for you and having your back end right and tight. That's a whole other story. But if you're not doing that, then you've got to find a way that you're either podcasting or doing video blogging or getting people to write articles for you. Be passionate about it. Put your foot in it, right? So that it really is some real good stuff, not just wishy-washy, not just I'm trying my best and, oh, I've got a lot of time. Well, rather, you know, I've got a lot of other stuff. Can't find the time. You can't make excuses with this stuff. I'm going to tell you that several times I felt like I caught carpal tunnel in the beginning because I was just going at it so hard. But to me, that's what you've got to do. So people go, this person is not a joke. They're not a game. They're really, really passionate about this and they stand out. So I'm not going to be that person to say you can make 6 figures in 20 days. I'm going to be that person to say you better put your heart and soul into it and you make it good like mama's, you know, gumbo or whatever she make that you like, oh my God, this tastes so good. You make it like that.
I love it. It's so good. No, I remember that, like, back in the day when I was like looking online and things, like some of the videos that would turn up, and a lot of them would be guys that were sitting in an office, and I'm trying to remember what this guy's name was, but he was sitting in an office and he'd withdrawn like untold amounts of cash, and he had the cash all strewn all over his desk and make all of this money, and then, you know, look at cars, and then luckily for me, I didn't have enough money to lose too much money or a credit card to lose too much money. But I know that they were effective. That scarcity kind of marketing that used to happen a few years back when I was kind of looking at the whole thing, mainly men. I mean, there are probably women out there doing it, but I was just always being directed to these guys that just were throwing down cash and doing this scarcity thing.
Yeah.
And it's such a different energy now. You know, thank goodness. I veer towards the women that have a more, like you say, more giving, more about providing value.
Definitely.
And that kind of thing. And I follow Cece as well. And I think she's amazing. I love what she does.
I mean, you
Are
got
you
to
still
go
there?
towards the people who, you know, your heart connects with, when you
Mm.
get the red flag or, something, it just the spider senses are tingling and you're like, nah, I'm not feeling that person. There who may be a better fit for you. Yes.
If you were to kind of give somebody like a bullet point of like, five basic things that they need to get started with putting themselves online, what would you say were like the core necessities that they need?
Okay. So I always tell clients before you get online, get offline. It's a rabbit hole. So you don't want to go online and feel like anybody with a shiny object, you go, oh, okay, I follow this person or that person. Get off and identify what exactly it is that you want to do to start. So while I can tell you that I fell into entrepreneurship, I do know that at the very beginning, I wanted to start an e-zine for women of color. So I wrote my content, I did my audios, I put together my images, right? Start off with what you want to do, identify that. So maybe you say, you know what, I want to start my own e-course, or I want to write a book. Then you go online and you find content that helps you with your particular goal. So a lot of times people come to me and they say, LaShanda, I want to create digital content. You do that with your eyes closed, help, right? When I found CC, honestly, I was like, okay, I need to figure this Instagram thing out, and she's good at that. So let me see what she's talking about over here. I don't necessarily find it's best to just fall into people and have them take you wherever they're going. I figure out what I want to do and then find the right people to help me reach that goal. You start there. That's the first thing. And once you're there, then you go, okay, now that I know what I want to do, let me do it. So for example, when I was starting building websites, one of the first things that I wanted to do was I wanted to write books. But as a social introvert, I had some anxiety around submitting my book to traditional publishers and being rejected. So I did my research. I found out about self-publishing, and I was like, hey, I could make my book, put myself on the cover and publish, and no one tells me no. So first identify what you want to do and then do your research and get that done, right? So I built my website, I got my first books self-published, and then I started with social media, right? So like I said, I was click by click on MySpace groups. I was not only looking on social media, but then I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Looking on social media, but then at the same time, I decided to create my own platform. So, just to be clear, number one, before you get online, get offline, figure out what it is that you want to do. Number two, once you know what you want to do, find what you need to figure out how to do it, whether you do offline research, get books, or find websites to help you reach that goal. And then number three, use social media channels so that you can start to reach people. Then for me, number four, create your own space, right? Build up your website, put your content on your website, create a group so you have your own branded community. Those to me are the things that you could do to get started with the process. So you're not, what's the word I'm looking for? Again, you're not following other people, but you're creating your own path for yourself. You don't necessarily have to know everything, but absorb only those things that you find will help you reach your goal. I find that people who struggle the most tend to be people who they're overwhelmed because they're getting all of this information. Different people are telling them different things, and they're second guessing themselves. So avoid overwhelm by setting specific goals for yourself and only taking in information that helps you with those goals.
What do you think is the future of online working for entrepreneurs, but then just like the online space in general, having lived through, worked through all the trends so far?
Whew, that's an interesting question. What do I think the future is for entrepreneurs? Elaborate a little bit more because I don't want to go off on a tangent on you.
there is no right or wrong way, but one thing that I'm interested in, I don't know how soon it's going to be, the way that we could potentially go into things like holograms, or where technology is taking us with artificial intelligence, with the algorithms that are being written. Would we be potentially able to create our own algorithms to bring people to us? Just kind of like thoughts that go through my head, but I don't know where it's going.
Oh, wow. That's such a beautiful thing to imagine because, thinking about being in a space where, AOL.com, and it took forever just to see a picture on a screen, and now we can talk to each other and see each other smile. Um, I, I'm going to be honest. I don't even know.
Mm.
I haven't even really thought about being in that space of having a hologram of somebody virtually in front of me. I think that thought is a beautiful thought. And if I get to be there, great. I think people are still in an A for apple, B for bat kind of space, to be honest with you. Not so much as far as what technology can do, but just us getting accustomed to entrepreneurship, taking control of our own spaces, creating our own content. For a lot of people, they're still in the baby stages. So, just figuring out how to monetize and have a website and, send emails to customers. I mean, those are just some of the still nuances for a lot of people. So while I can on one hand see the beautifulness of, as consumers, us, with family and friends maybe consuming some of that high level technology, from the entrepreneurial's perspective, I think that the majority of people getting started still have a lot to learn. So they'll be doing the basics for a good while.
Mm. Fair enough. It's just me with my space and sci-fi future brain. Just wanted to think, where's this going to go? In another life, maybe I'd invent Google, but maybe not. But you know what I mean? It's like just trying to understand where it's going, that maybe I could be at a ground level development of something like that, like have some sort of like software as a service company under my belt, just thinking long-term and legacy and that kind of thing. That's one of the things that
Definitely.
I've
I
always...
feel like, thinking about what you're saying, there are two ways of looking at it. From the consumer perspective, or even the entrepreneur looking to be on top of the trends, just always being aware of, okay, this new platform is jumping on, like the Facebook Lives or the Periscopes or the Snapchats, and let me learn it, let me consume it, let me dominate it. So being in a space where you're hungry to really control and be aware of what's coming up in the pipeline is important. But on the flip side, is somebody who, what I'm hearing from you, if you want to create, then being in that Silicon Valley or something similar kind of a space where technology and bright minds are creating the new, then that would be the thing for you, finding out, how to be kind of like when somebody says, oh, I want to be an actor, or, I want to be on television, then they go to Hollywood or they go to New York, be where the technology is being born. That would be the best thing to do, to stay on top of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Well, let me ask you these Her Conversations questions while the gods of the internet are still connecting us. Okay. So the first question I want to ask you is, what's the best piece of advice a woman has ever given you?
Oh my goodness. So I can't say this is the best, but it's one of them. I was earlier on in my career, someone reached out to me to do some work with me, and they were in publishing. And I was just so, newbie anxious. And I was like, okay, well, how can I get in and start working with publishers, and maybe thinking, I could get a deal of some kind. And she was like, you don't need to do any of that. Look at you. You've got your BBWO network. You've got thousands of people following you. The only thing that they would give you, other than, a little initial check, is they want to be able to capitalize off of your following, your visibility. So just do you. And I think that was a really great piece of advice, because now I always get mesmerized when I see somebody have as seen on SistaSense logo on their website. I'm a brand, I'm established. You don't always need, and a lot of us think this, that we've got to be put on by these brands that are more established than we are. You know, we live in a day and age where if you are committed enough to really putting in the work and building your tribe, everybody who you thought you wanted to be a part of their world will beg to be a part of yours.
Great advice. Fabulous.
Yeah.
And what woman represents higher energetic resonance to you?
I mean, honestly, I'm feeling a little stumped with that one, only because I can just see the parts of people who, when I see their parts together, they're like the perfect person, you know? Just thinking about, if I think of names of people who have come to me, Rochelle Shaw, she was one of those first people who mentored me, and the perfect person of, you know, she took the good old boys club and she spent all this money to learn how they did the marketing to then not only use that strategy, but to teach other Black women. I think of one of my clients and close friends, Lynette Crosby, who's a light worker, and she's in a space where she's always trying to show people how to raise their vibration and to be their best selves and have faith in humanity. You know, I see people like Cece, who's consistently creating amazing content and being driven in the face of cancer, in the face of challenges, and she's like, listen, I'm tired, but I'm still going to come on here. And you may go, well, come on, Cece, you coming out with something together, another something today? Yes, I am, because I'm creative and this is what I've been called to do. You know, I just think of these wonderful parts of different women who are just themselves. They give of themselves, they work really hard, they do it unapologetically, and they show up. One of my favorite quotes I learned from one of the ladies in my circle, Pam Perry. She would always say, closed mouths don't get fed. You know, your mouth is closed, ain't no food getting in there. So, you want to be that kind of woman. You want to be her, show up. Even when you're sick or, okay, when you're sick, you want to take a break. I get that, but don't let your anxiety or fatigue or frustration or fear or other people put you in a space where you just lurk in the background waiting for your time to shine, because nobody is going to give you permission to shine. You just have to show up, pretty face, funky face, ugly face, any face, and be committed to being your best you, whatever that means at the time for you, if that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense. So that was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what is your favorite self-care ritual or practice?
I would have to say my guilty pleasure of, I always tell people break before broken. So in my office, I have my couch, which we built. It used to be a little bed we built for my son, and then we put a back on it and made it purple, and now it's my couch. And then I have a crash pad. Kind of looks like a sleeping bag, but my guilty pleasure is taking breaks. I'm getting older, so if I need to take one or two naps, and it's funny because, ladies who are 50 or 60 or 70, they'll laugh at me because I'm 38, and I'm like, I'm getting older, but I take my naps. I take my naps. I, curl up in the corner, watch my favorite shows on whatever. I love cartoons. So right now, me and my son, we're all about Steven Universe. And I protect my space. I always talk about Lynette, one of my clients who's a light worker. And she's like, you know what, LaShanda, all the things that you've gone through in your life, all the challenges, you've created a space in your home that's protective of you. So that, I don't have people, my phone isn't ringing. People aren't like clawing at me. I can say, I'm quiet now. It's quiet now. I'm going to relax, and then I'll go back to work. So for me, that's self-care. I mean, there's so much more I have to do. I have to get rid of the fat on my stomach. I get that. But, for my sanity self-care, not feeling like I'm being clawed at and I have a quiet space and I can quietly relax and enjoy my time, to the point where my hubby will even say, I don't like it when you're by yourself. You look too happy in the corner by yourself. You need that. You need that quiet time. I need that anyway, and it really helps me recharge.
Perfect. Sounds brilliant. We all need that. We all need that.
Just something that keeps you keeping on.
I don't know how I started on this, but I've started watching on YouTube when I just need to like completely decompress. What's it called? Family Feud with Steve Harvey.
Really?
Do you know? Because what someone has done is done compilations of when people make really dumb answers.
Yes.
Trust me, honestly, when I've had like a day where I've just been like kind of just like writing, when it's all been like fairly serious, even though I enjoy it, sometimes it's like serious and I just need to kind of come away from that and just do nothing. Just a 10-minute video of people just answering silly questions with stupid answers. And
We all have it. You know, my hubby, he's always like, oh my gosh, you and your Korean dramas. I love me some Korean dramas. I will sit here and they don't know what's going on. And I'm like, exactly. Go somewhere else and let me watch my show.
oh, wow, okay. I always like to dig into other people's stuff as well. Korean dramas.
Oh yeah, I love love watching them. And then of course, I half of the new stuff I don't even know because of the nostalgia in me. And I think that's also my mother. My mother, she loves to watch the things that she grew up on. So old black and white westerns, that's her thing. For me, it's going back and watching my favorite dramas and sitcoms of when I was in my teens and 20s. So I'm still that kind of, I don't even know half the stuff that's around now, but when I do watch something new, it's usually a random Korean drama. So you
Wow.
got to find what's something that you like and
You
enjoy.
do, you do.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And so tell us what's coming up for you. Have you got some new products? You've got some new courses. What's your next development?
Always, always. I have just finished my Fire Start Your Year virtual workshop, and I did a live workshop here in North Carolina. And it's funny because we were talking about live stream. I did lives while I was at the event, and ladies in my circle are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to be at the next one." So, Spring into Action is coming up. In April, I've got Love on Your Business, which is a 28-day challenge to love on your business and love yourself as well. That's coming up in February. I'm just very always intentional and strategic about it. And I always encourage clients to get into a space where they create their own brand calendar. So my calendar is full, between the new challenges and the workshops that I've got coming up. And I'm just always in a space where I try to help my clients create their content as well so that their calendar can be full too. So never be without something to release.
That's an amazing piece of advice. I like that brand calendar as well. I've just made a note of that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
one of the big things that I've been talking about. Especially when I've got people who come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like a hot mess. I always feel like a dollar, what is it, a day late and a dollar short. And for me, it just being in a space where I know what's coming up next quarter and what's coming up next month, putting a name on it and either a challenge or an event or a campaign, kind of like I always use the analogy of My Black is Beautiful, which is a campaign, right? Creating your own personal brand messages so that you can, focus on that. So often than not, entrepreneurs come to me and say, well, I don't know what to put on social media. I don't know what to talk about. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you have products? Yes. Well, then pull out content from your products, share that and make a brand message.
yeah.
And for some people, it doesn't click that way, which is why I'm here, to help people get clear and to motivate them to create as much content as possible. If I can say, when I said to you, always have something to share, that's actually one of my SistaSense acronyms. Always have something to always have something to say, something to sell, and something to share. either all three or one of the three, but never be in a space where you're just kind of, unless you're working quietly in the background, never be in a space where you don't have something to say, something to sell, and something to share, so that you're simultaneously attracting new people while keeping your existing people in the loop.
Great stuff. Great advice. So where can we find you online so that we can get more of your information?
Sure. I am SistaSense, SistaSense. So essentially SistaSense.com, and on most social platforms, SistaSense is my what is it? Not hashtag, my whatever name. Handle. There we go.
They keep changing it. Who knows? It's like name is name.
I don't follow it. I'm just like, look, just look for SistaSense and you'll find me.
Fine, I found you anyway. So like between you and Cece, I I'm really inspired by you both. And I want to say, LaShanda, thank you so much for coming on and her conversations and just talking about the work that you're doing, because it is really vital. And even though a lot of the women that I've spoken to before are actually offering services in terms of they're the light workers, they're the healers and all of the rest of it, pretty much all of them are online, and what they do needs the foundation and the structure and the all of the tools that you have to actually get us on there and creating our own space. So it's vital that we understand exactly how to do it instead of kind of bouncing around in the dark. So I'm glad that you came on, and I'm hoping that some of the listeners will actually kind of like follow you and get in contact with you and get the information that they need in order for us to kind of really put our message out there.
Definitely. If there's nothing else that I can do, I always tell people SistaSense is about helping others make sense of making money online. And to make sense of it, you've got to be able to identify what it is that you want to create. And then from there, find the great tools available to you to do just that. You don't have to produce anything that doesn't feel natural to you, that doesn't feel right to you. Find the platforms that best fit your personality. And as I mentioned earlier on, for me, it's all about phasing in your greatness. I was not the most confident person, and it did take me a while to go from text to photo to audio to video and then some. Transition, find the things that work for you and your personality, and you'll grow with it. You'll grow with technology. You'll grow into your voice. Just don't force it, or follow anyone who tells you to just force it, because nothing about this process should be hard. It should be natural. It's going to be, a little bit nerve-wracking because you're going to get out of your comfort zone, but it should never be hard. It should just be you finding the right platforms to express who you are and what you do.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to LaShanda for joining me on this episode of Her Conversations, and thank you for listening. You can discover more about me by visiting my website, carolmaywhittick.com. That's CarolMaewhittick.com. And also you can find out more about Her Life Academy, which launches this month, February 2019. Her Life Academy is a monthly instruction and inspirational platform for awakening women. It's created for you to magnify your spirituality, your sensuality, and your soul, and live a life in higher energetic resonance. You can visit my website for more details, and you can sign up now to gain early bird access and also launch offers. On social media, you can find me on Facebook under Carol May Whittick, and my Instagram name is Kazmic, that's CAZMICK. And Her Life Academy also has her own Instagram at Her Life Academy. I'd also appreciate you leaving a comment, liking, sharing any episodes. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified as soon as you get a new episode published on your particular platform. So that's me for this week, and I wish you the best week, and I'll speak to you next week.